Hello, and welcome to my GameMaker tutorial for how to make a character creator. Now, I was looking long and hard all over YouTube for a character creator, looking it up on the web, and I really couldn't find a GameMaker character creator that where you could make your character and then go into the game, and so I decided to make my own. Now, I'm sure that there's probably another one out there, but I couldn't find it. So this is all stuff that I made, although of course it's based off other tutorials I've seen, but I wrote this all myself without following a tutorial. So please credit me if you use this. I would like that. Thank you. Now, the first thing you gotta do is make your sprites. Now, I just made some simple sprites in the editor. Now, the thing you gotta take care with is you need to make sure that when you're making a new sprite, you duplicate the original one and then sort of like draw on top of it before erasing the original drawing so that everything is in the right place. And then for some of these, you can have like multiple versions of it. And for some of these, if you want there to be an option where you don't have it at all, like for the tail, for example, make the first one blank and then draw in your options. And for all of this, it needs to be white. So you can have a black outline, but the color that we're going to be changing is the white. So I'm not really sure what happens if you add like a different color that's not black or white into there. It probably gets changed as well and turns into a different color, but I'm not sure which color it turns into. So just try to avoid that. Just do like black and white, or you could do like a gray, because then it would turn into like a darker version of the color that you're going for, I believe. So just stick to this grayscale sort of a thing. Don't add any colors to your beautiful sprites. And then once you're done with the sprites, it's good to just set up the rooms. So the room can be however you want the room to be, like your sizes, your camera, whatever your game is, that just use the normal thing for that. I made the background red in here just so that I could see the character. And in your room 1 is the character created room. This is where our actual character creation is going to happen. Just plop down your player into this room, or just have them be there somehow. And then in room 2, this is just going to be the game. So if you have it so that you have a player in every room and you're constantly like editing the player and stuff like that, then put a player in this room as well. But the way I'm doing the player is I'm making them persistent. So that's why I don't have a player in my second room. But if your game has players in all the rooms, then make sure that you do that. And now we're on to the player. Now the player is the only object in this file because I was able to do everything on the player object. So first up, the create event. Now what you need in the create event is tail selected, ears selected, hair selected, pants selected, shirt selected. Basically, all the things where you can change which version of it is, then you should have a selected for that. Now, for example, for the hair, there's 2 versions of hair. So that's why we have a hair selected. 2 versions of pants, 2 versions of shirt, 3 versions of ears, and 3 versions of tail, where the first selection is nothing. There's a chance to, not a chance, but there's an option to have no ears or have no tail. But for these other ones, you have to have them. And then for our other things that we're also drawing on, there's only one option. Like there's only one shoes, there's only one ears, there's only one player body. But of course, if you want to have like multiple body types, then you just draw another frame onto your sprite, and then you add in like body selected. Of course, if you're adding another body type, then you're probably gonna have to do some fiddling around with the clothes to make sure that they fit. So maybe I'll look into that some other time, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we are only having one body type, so make sure that everything you draw is matching the body that's going to be our base for this. And then we want the color. This is what we're actually changing. I mean, of course, we're changing which sprite we're having, but we're also mainly changing the colors. That's the main point of this tutorial, is to change the colors of each option. So just in the create event, you set them all to white. Player color is the body color, but I just wrote player color for my variable. And then we have ears, eyes, hair, pants, shirt, shoes, and tail. All set all that to white to begin with. Or like set it to whatever you want your default to be. This is what it's going to look like when you open up the game. And then option selected, color selected, option chosen should be -1. Option chosen should be -1 because when we're starting, we haven't chosen an option to start editing yet. We're just on the option screen. So we have options here. It's an array. These are the different things that we can edit. So we can edit the body, the ears, the eyes, the hair, so on. But once we select one of these, option chosen gets changed into, for example, eyes. It gets changed to eyes. So, but normally we want it to be -1. And then option selected and color selected start as 0, obviously. And then for the colors, this is just going to be our options for the body colors. And we just have that as a default, just in case something goes wrong. We want to have that array be created, basically. So you could leave this blank, a blank array, if you wanted to. And then global.creating equals true. This is the variable that reads whether or not we're still creating our character. So when this turns into false, our character creating menu is going to go away, and we're going to be able to move around or like do whatever it is that you do in your game. You're going to be able to do that. So I'll show you how we do that in a bit. And then move speed is 5. This isn't really part of this tutorial. This is just something I added so that we can show how your game can start. So in my little fake game that I have after this character creator, once you're finished with the character creator, you go into the game, and it's just like a little room where you can move around in it. So I set the move speed for that. So you probably already have a move speed if you have a game where you can move around, so just ignore that and use whatever your game is using. And then next up, I'm going to show you the draw event where we draw the player. So we want to use draw sprite ext because we want to be able to change the color. So there's a lot of different variables in here, and I'm going to explain what each of them are. So the first one is the actual sprite that we're drawing. So just put in the sprite. For example, this first one that I'm drawing is player tail. So SPR player tail. And then the subimage is going to be tail selected because that's the version that we've selected. And then X and Y, and then 1 and 1, and then 0. So what these are, X and Y is obviously like where you are. So you just want it to be drawn onto the player directly, so just use the X and Y. And then this is like how much it's stretched. So like the stretching horizontally and stretching it vertically, we just want it to be 1. We just want it to be the normal stretched version. where it's just not stretched at all. And then 0 is the rotation. We don't want it to be rotated, so we just have it as 0. And then we put in the color, and then the opacity. So like if you wanted your tail to be 50% opacity, you would do 0.5. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just having everything at full opacity because I just thought it looked better that way. And then we do that for all of these, and the order that you draw them in is important because the first one is drawn first. So if we want the tail to be behind the body, we got to draw the tail first and then draw the body, and then the hair, and then the ears, and then the eyes, and then the pants, and then the shirt, and then the shoes. So depending on what you want to be on top of the other things, like for example, if you drew the body last, it would be drawn on top of the clothes, which you probably don't want. So just copy this down or using whatever variables that you're using, but try to keep to this order because this is a pretty good order for the order you should draw them in. Now, next up, I'm going to show you I'm going to keep step event for last because it's pretty long. The draw GUI, this is where we do draw options. So we're using for loops. If you don't know what a for loop is, it's basically where we have I set to 0 and then I is under whatever length you want it to be. So let's say array length options was 5. This is going to repeat like 6 times because it goes 0. And actually, no, it repeats 5 times because I think it stops at 4 because it's under 5. Something like that. And then, so this is what it starts as, and then this is what it's testing each time. Once this becomes true, once this becomes false, the for loop stops. And then this is what we're adding each time. We're adding that. And so each for loop, we're going to be doing this. So this is how we're drawing the menu. We're drawing each option of the menu in white, and then if we have that selected, we're drawing it in yellow so that we can see that it's selected. And then we're drawing the text, and then we're setting the color back to white so that we're not messing up anything else that we might be drawing. Because white is the basic color that we want everything to be if we're just drawing it normally. And so for text, for the Y, you want I times 20. Otherwise, everything's just going to draw on top of each other, and you don't want that. And it's just going to be drawing options I, which is going to be the array of options, as we remember here, has each of these things in it. So if we are on the third round of this for loop, it would be 2, because it goes 0, 1, 2. So it's going to be options 2, and options 2 is 0, 1, 2 eyes. So we're going to be typing out eyes. And if it's selected, it's going to be typed in yellow. If it's not, it's going to be typed in white. But anyway, you probably get that. And then if option chosen is not -1, that means we have selected something to begin editing. Then we're going to draw another menu, which is going to have the colors for whatever we're editing. So it's going to draw out the same way, except it's going to be using this colors array to draw out each of the colors, whichever one is selected. The X is 100 because we want it to be over to the side of the original menu. We're still drawing the original menu because you can go back to it, but we're drawing this one like right next to it. So I put 100. Of course, you can change these numbers to fit whatever menu style you want it to look like. And obviously, I haven't set a font, so I'm just using the default font. So you might want to change the numbers in order to fit whatever font you're using. Maybe you're using like a really big font, so you need to make these numbers a lot bigger. But I'm just using the default font for this. So, it looks, I'll show you what it looks like if I run the game. Actually, I haven't run the game yet. I should show you what this is actually creating. So just wait for it to build. Here it is. We have our menu. You can go down, and if you select hair, for example, there's a lot of options here. Say we want to be blonde. You select that, and then boom, we're blonde. Or say you want black hair, boom, we have black hair. And if we press the escape key, we go back to here, and we can go and we can choose something else, like eye color. It set it to blue because that's the number of thing we were on. We were on black, which is the 5th option here. So if we go up to eyes, the 5th option is blue, so it kind of like, I should probably fix that. I should probably have it set the option to 0, but that's just a little quirk of the way I made this. So that can be your homework. Fix that. Make that not happen. But it doesn't really matter because we can still go and pick something else like yellow there, or white if you want it to be white, or light brown, even red. That can be what you want. And then you can choose like the color of the shoes. Let's say we want brown shoes. And let's say we're done. Let's say we're done selecting everything. Or let's say we want to change the pants to be shorts. Boom. I press the arrow key moving to the right, so I change them into shorts. And you can do the same thing for ears. There's some cat ears there, there's some normal ears, and then no ears. Let's say we want normal ears, and we want them to be peach. There we go. Let's say we're done. We've created our character, and we're done. We click done, and we move to the room, and we can move around. It's pretty great. Now, obviously, I haven't added like any animations. So if you want to have animations, then this is going to get a little bit more complicated. So maybe I'll do a sequel where I have animations, but you can probably figure out how to do it if you know a bit of code. But anyways, something important about the Draw GUI is it's all encased in a global creating equals true. Because if we're not creating, then we don't want this menu to be here. So it'll be equal false, and none of these options will show up. And then in the step event, also encased in a global creating equals true, we get our keys, and then we get like down key minus up key is the move option, and then right key minus left key is the sprite option. So you can just like copy this down. Pause the video and copy it down if you want to like just copy what I'm doing. And then we have the escape key, which sets it back to option chosen equals -1, because that means we're leaving the secondary menu. And if option chosen equals -1, then option selected is affected by the move option. Like the move option would normally be 0 if you're not clicking any buttons, but if you click the down key, it's going to be 1. If you click the up key, it's going to be -1, and if you click both, it's going to be 0. So option selected is changed by that. And then I have a little thing here so that if we reach the bottom or the top and we go over, it wraps around to the other side. That's what this is. Leave that there for a second. And then if we have the select key, if that is clicked, then the select key is spacebar for this version. Then option chosen becomes options array option selected. And then I have a different thing for each of the different option chosen options. Like obviously the first option chosen is -1 because that means nothing's chosen. But then we have body, where we set the colors array to the colors that we want for the body. And then we have color selected is affected by move option, then we have it so that it wraps around. And then under select key, we have a switch statement, which is color selected. And if the color selected is case 0, which would mean it was white, then we set the player color to white. And then let's say it was 2, light brown. We set it to this color, which is the light brown that we want. So when you're putting this together, you can get a different color that you want by going over to your sprite, edit image, and then you click on that, and then you go in here, and let's say we want like a nice pale green. This is the color we want. We copy this right here, copy that, and then we go over here, and let's just say we want to put the color down here. We put a hashtag, and then we put the color, and then boom, we have the color. So if you want to select which colors you want, then you can do that. Otherwise, if you want to use the colors that I've chosen, just copy down what I have here. I'll show you what each of them are. There's white, there's peach, there's light brown, there's dark brown, there's blue, there's green, and then default is white. Sorry for how loud my computer is. You can probably hear the fan. But anyways, that is for option chosen body. And then for option chosen ears, it's the same thing. Quite literally, it's the same thing because I have the same options of colors for ears because that's also part of the skin. Same thing as body. But what you gotta remember is to change the body selected, or what do I have it up here? Okay, so this is something added. This is something that's not the same as body because we have multiple different forms of ear. So we gotta add in this section right here. Ears selected is affected by sprite option. Now remember, sprite option up here is the right key and the left key. So by doing the right key and the left key, we're changing the ears selected. And then we have it so that it wraps around. Because there are 3 options, so we have it as 2. If it's under 0, it goes to 2. If it's over 2, it goes to 0. That's how it wraps around. And then we gotta remember to, this thing is the same. But in the switch color selected, change it to ears color. Because up here it's player color, because we're changing the color of the player. But down here we're changing the color of the ears. So you gotta remember to change all that to ears color. And then down here for eyes, it's pretty much the same as the body because there's only one eyes. But I changed the options. I added one, I added yellow, I changed peach to red, and so down here you can see we have the colors. We've got to change it to eyes color. And it's the same thing for all of this. Down here we have hair, and we've got to change it to hair color, and the hair selected. There's 2 versions of hair, so if it goes over 1, it's 0, and if it goes under 0, it's 1. And then we have pants. Same thing for, because there's 2 pants options. Got to change that to pants color. And then shirt, there's 2 shirt options, so it's 1. And then you got to change it to shirt color. And then for shoes, there's only 1 shoes, so it's the same as body. Sorry, I just like zoomed out or something. And you got to change it to shoes color. And then tail, just like the ears, there's 3 options. Option 1 is nothing, and then there's 2 options, so it's, in total that's 3, so you use the number 2 here. And you change it to tail color here. And then if we're done, then if we select done, then we turn global creating to equal false, and then room go to, and then the next room that we want to go to start our game. And then down here in the else, this is else if global creating equals false. Then we set our keys, we set our move speed, well, not the move speed, we set the direction that we're moving in, and then we times that by the move speed, and then we add that to the X and the Y. This is just a simple little moving around code that you can put this into the step player It's the step event of your player, and it'll just move around. But I have it in the else section because we don't want to be able to do this while we're changing our character. But once we're done making our character and creating equals false, then we can do all this. So I believe I have shown everything now. So I'll just run the game again to show you everything that we've done. And I'll make a little character and then we can run around. Hopefully this tutorial was helpful to you in some way. Maybe it taught you something. I'll just make a little character. Ears, there we go. Eyes, I want to make green eyes. Hair, red hair. Pants can be blue. The shirt can be light brown. The shoes should be brown. The tail can be red, like the hair. And then we're done. We have our character, and we can move around. I realized I haven't shown off the other hair, in case you wanted to copy my my sprites. This is the second hair. It's just like a long hair version. And it goes around the face exactly, because you don't want it to, because we're drawing it after the body, so we don't want it to be covering up the face. So that's why we have it like this. Here's our body. You can, and of course, when you're making this, you can totally go wild. You can add wings, you can add different types of noses, different types of smiles. You can add so many different hairstyles, so many different versions of shirts and pants and shoes and tails and ears. You can add like some pointy elf ears or whatever. But as long as you're using this as like a baseline for what it looks like, then it should work, and you should have a nice little character creator. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you probably in a week with a different video. That's not going to be a tutorial, but you know, maybe I'll make another tutorial at some point. Ask me if there's anything that you want to see me make a tutorial on. I'm not like super good at code, but I've learned a lot recently, so I can probably do whatever it is that you want to see. So comment below asking what you want to see. If you have any questions about this, of course, ask me. And thanks for watching.